Welcome, student. Let us continue this lesson, that is the freedom struggle of 1857, or the first war of independence, 1857. Okay. There are many reasons which leads to this freedom fighting of 1857. Okay, let us continue with that reason. There are many causes. Okay, so we are going to start with this causes, that is the political. It is an important cause for the this freedom struggle. Okay, after 1757, the British took charge of many Indian states. So it generates an unrest into the princely states kings. Okay, later Lord Dalhousie annexed many princely states on various causes. The Nawab of Ayodhya was dethroned on the ground of maladministrations, whereas the princely state of Sataram, Nagpur, and Jhansi were annexed through the doctrine of lapse. Due to these policies, the Dalhousie, uh, the Indian policies of Dalhousie, the Indians did not consider the British as a trustworthy. Discontent among the Indian soldier. The Indian soldiers were given a low status by British officers. They could not gain any higher post than the Subedar. They were paid less compared to British soldier. The allowances were also gradually decreased. Due to this reason, there was growing discontent among the Indian soldier. Immediate cause. There is an immediate uh, cause generates into Meerut barrack of Indian Sepoy. In 1856, the British provided along Enfield rifles to the Indian Sepoy. The Sepoys were required to bite at the end of the cartridge. The news spread out that these cartridges were smeared with the fats of cow and pig. Due to these, religious sentiments of the Hindus and Muslim sepoys were hurt and made them unhappy. The outburst disciplinary actions was taken on those sepoy who refused to use these smeared cartridges and were given a severe punishment. Mangal Pandey from the Barakpur cantonment shot an English officer as a reaction of unjust nature of British officer. Mangal Pandey was arrested and hanged to death. This news spread like a fire, and the entire regiment of the Indian Sepoy at Meerut took part in the freedom struggle and marched towards the Delhi. So here we completed the points in the previous lecture. Okay, thousands of Indians voluntarily joined them. On the way, they handed over the leadership of the freedom struggle to the Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah and proclaimed him as a emperor of India. Scope of scope of the struggle. The self-confidence of the sepoy increased with the capture of Delhi. It also gives inspiration to the other soldiers. The revolt soon spread in the North India. The Indian soldier revolted in the cantonment from the Bihar to Rajputana. The revolt spread in Lucknow, Allahabad, Kanpur, Banaras, Bareilly, and Jhansi. Later, it spread to the South India. In the revolt, Chhatrapati Pratap Singh of Satara and his officers Rango Bapuji, Chima Saheb of Kolhapur, Balasaheb Bhave of Nargund, Bhagoji Naik of Ahmednagar were in the forefront. Royal Queens of Pet and Surgana from the Nashik district also participated in the struggle of 1857. Under the leadership of the Kazar Singh, the Bhils revolted, whereas the Shankar Shah leads the revolt in a Satpura region. 400 female Bhils participated in the revolt at Khandesh. So the whole Indians were take a participation in the war of freedom, and many princes or kings were also took part in this war of 1857. Okay, so it's this war of war spread throughout India against British leadership of the struggle. During the 18th century CA, after the weakening of the Mughal Empire, invaders like Nadir Shah Abdali attacked India. The Marathas understood that Mughal Empire cannot react to this foreign invasion and took up the responsibility of safeguarding India. Marathas fought against Abdali at Panipat for the same reason. In 1761, the freedom struggle of 1857, the dissident of the Mughals, Bahadur Shah was incapable of fighting against the British. Understanding the conditions, Nana Sahib Peshwa, Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi, and Tatya Tope took up the charge of the freedom struggle of 1857. Its effect could be seen on the Hindu-Muslim unity in the struggle. Maulavi Ahmed Shah Allah Kanwar Singh, Mughal commander Bakht Khan, Begum Hazrat Mahal led the revolt in various regions. The nature of revolt in Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi, West Bihar was more fierce. So here saws an Hindu-Muslim unity against the British rule, crushing of the struggle. But this attempt of freedom struggle are crushed by the Britishers. There are many reasons of failure of this war. The Indian wholeheartedly fought against the British, including soldiers, zamindar, kings, commanders, and common people. The Indian sepoys started a freedom struggle before the fixed time. Initially, they succeeded, but military strength. Here are the picture of that leaders of 1857 war. This is the spread out of the first Indian war. Administration of the British rule was vast. The British crushed down the struggle by all means. The British made quick recovery and within the next 6 months regained the lost territories. Rani Lakshmibai, Kanwar Singh, Ahmadullah led their lives. Bahadur Shah was imprisoned at Rangoon. Nana Sahib and Begum Hazrat Mahal took shelter in Nepal. Tatya Tope fought for the next 10 months against the British, but due to betrayal, he was caught and hanged to death. In this way, by the end of the 1858, the British ruthlessly crushed down the struggle. Even though the struggle began with the discontent among the Indian soldier, but later the peasant, artisan, common people, tribes came together to fight against the British. In this rebellion, Hindu Muslims stood up with the great force. Their common aim was overthrowing the British from India. There was an inspiration of gaining independence behind this struggle, and therefore this freedom struggle gained a national form. So, the there are many reasons that the central power doesn't exist. Central power doesn't exist in this struggle. This leads to the failure of the struggle. Okay. The struggle was not comprehensive. The struggle did not take place simultaneously all over India. Its intensity was more to the north, but Rajputana, Punjab, some part of the Bengal, and northwest India remain aloof from this struggle. Lack of central leaderships. There was no commonly accepted leader to the fight against British. Due to this, there was no uniformity in the struggle against British. Most of the feudatory princes remained aloof. Just as an common people suffered due to British rule, similarly the princes also were suffering, but except a few except a few others remains faithful to British. British. Lack of military tactics. Indian soldiers were brave but did not use tactics. They captured Delhi but could not retain it. Similarly, Indian rebels had a limited armed supply. The British had economic strength, disciplined army, and enough stock of latest arms and experienced army generals. Since transport and communications was in the hands of Britishers, these there were movements were swift. Due to this, the Indian sepoy could not succeed. War are fought not only based on the base of bravery but also through the military strategies. So, students, here we saw the how this freedom struggle burst out and the consequences of this struggle, and but it fails because of some reasons. Here are some reasons which we see in this point, and we will continue with these points into the next lecture. Okay. Okay, let us, this is the last one point, so continue with this point, so we can complete this lesson in this video. Okay, international situation favorable for Britishers. The Crimean War with the Russia was just over. The Britishers won the war. They had trade relations with different countries in the world. The naval strength of the British was vast, whereas the Indian rebels were isolated. The consequences of the freedom struggle, end of the rule of East India Company. So this freedom struggle leads to the end of East India Company, and the power handed over to the Queen of the British Empire. Due to the company rule, there was growing dissatisfactions among the Indians, and the British rule had to face the struggle of 1857. It forced the British Parliament to end the rule of the company and instead it take over the responsibility of ruling over Indian peoples of India through the Government of India Act 1858. The Governor General was now designated as a Viceroy of India. Lord Canning happened to be the last Governor General and the first Viceroy of India. A new post called Secretary of State was created in the British government to look after the affairs of India. Queen's Proclamation. Queen Victoria of England issues a declaration addressing the people of India. All Indians are our progeny. Henceforth, there will not be discriminated on the basis of race, religion, and caste or birthplace. Government services will be given on merit. There will be no interference of religious affairs. It was made clear that British Crown will honor all the treaties and agreements made by the company with the rulers of the princely state. Change in the composition of the army. The proportion of the British soldier was increased in the army. So before that, there were the English persons were in the major proportions in the army. So this leads to unrest in the sepoy. So this proportion changed by the British Parliament. Change in the policy. The British accepted the policy of non-interference in the social and religious aspect of Indians. They also started taking care of that Indian society will not be united on the social ground. So they saw to it that it will be constant conflict on the ground of caste, and Indian fell into the struggle, divide and rule policy. They follow divide and rule policy up to this time. Before Modi government, Congress also ruled over India with the help of this divide and rule policy. Okay, due to the freedom struggle, I am not against Congress party, but it is how they ruled over India with the help of this policy. Due to the freedom struggle of 1857, the Indian fails of giving united fight against British rule. The freedom struggle of 1857 became an inspiration of the Indian freedom movement. Here we completed this lesson. Okay, so this is the homework to you. Do exercise of this lesson. Okay, thank you.